Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having fat-free Greek yogurt, because some people have asked that, frozen cherries, and almond butter. All right, let's talk about rows versus pull-ups. When we say pull-ups, that can include chin-ups, because chin-ups are a variation of the pull-up. And people miss the bigger picture with this topic. Because really, when we're talking about pull-ups and chin-ups, we're talking about exercises that specialize in the lats and the biceps. They are not that great for overall back development, and they do have limited strength carryover to other movements. Now, I'm saying that as someone who has done a lot of pull-ups and chin-ups. You guys have seen me recently doing dead hang 10 rep sets on weighted chin-ups. Not that long ago, right? By the time this video is coming out, I may not be doing them anymore. But I was doing them. I like chin-ups. I like pull-ups. You guys have seen me do a lot of them weighted. I think they're good exercise. Okay? But the point is, they're a good exercise. But like with everything else, they're another tool in the toolbox. And, that could even include lat pull downs to some extent, similar movements, vertical versus horizontal pulling. And what I'm trying to say with a lot of this is that in terms of overall development, horizontal pulling is better. In terms of strength gain, particularly when we start talking about carryover to the squat, bench, deadlift, rows are better. And when I say rows, that's a very large term. Just like pull-ups includes a lot of different movements. It can include chin-ups with an underhand grip, close grip, medium grip, wider grip, right? It can include overhand pull-ups, same thing. It can include neutral grip pull-ups. It's like 9 or 10 different exercises right there. Lat pull downs, different attachments. Right? It's a lot of different movements. We're talking about vertical pulling. But it's not better for back development. You get people who say this nonsense and they'll say, well, the pull-up is a better back exercise. No, it's not. Arguably, set for set, you may get more activation on the lats. But that's also like looking at different types of curls, because again, we look at stuff like EMG data to get this. And yes, with different types of curls, you get different amounts of bicep activation, but you still get good bicep activation on any type of curl. Rows are the same. Now, you can row in a way that uses less lats if you're not careful. Okay, so there are ways that we can row to where we'll use less lat. Particularly, you get too upright, or even on some of your vertical ones, you don't extend fully at the bottom. Right? You could use a little less lat, but overall, rows use a lot of lat. And you can maximally develop your lats with rows if your volumes are high enough. So that's not really where it shines, meaning it might be set for set a hair better. Now, where pull-ups, chin-ups, all that stuff really shine is biceps. Uncontested. Multiple studies looking at EMGs, as well as different hypertrophy studies. We've consistently found that vertical pulls produce just as much bicep growth as curls, right? Just as much. We could argue in some cases better, maybe. Especially a weighted chin-up. But even an overhand grip pull-up has better bicep activation than any type of row, if we go off EMG data. All right, you look at hypertrophy studies, what do we have? Lat pull downs have equal curls in hypertrophy studies in novice and intermediate lifters both, right? They have. They've done studies where people just did 3 sets of lat pull downs twice a week or 3 sets of curls twice a week to failure. And all those studies The lat pull down produced just as much bicep growth as a curl. When rows have been compared, dumbbell rows were compared to curls, they produced slightly less. Okay? Rows are not particularly good for your biceps. Vertical pulling is vastly superior. Now, some people say, well, couldn't you do both? Sure, I program both sometimes for myself and clients. You could do both because, again, you're hitting the lats from a couple different angles. Hey, that's always better. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, but that's just the lats. We start talking about the rest of the back. The first one becomes obvious. What about the lower back? Because the lats are the middle back. We have upper back, we have middle back, we have lower back. Middle back is mostly like lower trap, lat. Lower back would be your spinal erectors, although there's erectors all the way up. Upper back would be like your mid traps, upper traps, rhomboids, posterior deltoids. Rowing for the upper back crushes vertical pulling. All right, it's vastly superior. Again, let's make a comparison. Vertical pulling, we could just call it pull-ups, is vastly superior for your biceps. Okay, uncontested studies of both EMG as well as hypertrophy studies. No debate there. Vastly superior. Upper back, we have the same thing. The whole upper back, again, all those muscles I just named. Rows are dramatically superior. Okay, and that matters. That matters a lot when we start talking about carryover to your big lifts. Why? Because your upper back impacts things like deadlifts. And if you're doing non-chest supported, that lower back affects deadlifts. A lot of rowing can help you maintain tightness on a deadlift. Strong lats do also. All right? But the upper back is oftentimes a weak link on the deadlift. And that's too nuanced for the purposes of this video to get into exactly how and why. But it does matter on the deadlift. Arguably more than that middle back does. What about benching? Upper back matters a lot for a raw bench press. It's a big deal. Bringing up your traps, rear delts. All those muscles absolutely give you a much more stable platform on the bench. What about squatting? You have a more stable shelf to squat with. So when we start talking about overall strength, rows are a better exercise for making you stronger all the way around. And when you say that, there are people who get upset and they won't argue, but it's like you can't argue because a lot of these other muscles that we need for other big lifts do not get adequately worked on pull-ups. They just don't. So pull-ups are great, and chin-ups and so on are great for when you need lats and a lot more bicep and you don't want to do a bunch of curls. But when you need upper back, and also arguably lower back, all these other things, when you need your entire back developed, top to bottom, rows are better. And some people say, well, what about lats? Can you get everything you need from lats? If you're deadlifting too, yes. Because deadlifting, look at the EMG data, that includes all your variations, all of our speed pulls, Romanian deadlifts, all of that stuff. They hit the lats really hard too. And if you went purely off EMG data, which we shouldn't, because I don't believe this is necessarily true, deadlifting beats pull-ups for lats on EMG studies. But it's not through a full range of motion, so therefore I think we could safely say those peak numbers just mean at certain points in the movement it can't give full development. It can't, but it does contribute. So if you're doing a lot of rowing and then you're adding deadlifting, yeah, you will get everything. You'll get your complete back. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.